Hey, yo, what is up, everybody? Coach Chad here, the CEO of the Next Level Coaching Academy. I got another amazing podcast for you today. What you're going to hear is you're going to hear a podcast I did today with the CEO of Closers4fitness. His name is Brent Kromer. We talked all things entrepreneurship, personal life with entrepreneurship, and very uniquely, we both own consulting companies for fitness professionals. So we talked about the state of online coaching. We also talked about our predictions for online coaching, and it was just a really great conversation. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace.
And welcome to another episode of the FSA podcast. I am here with Mr. Chad Molyneux. He needs no introduction. He is otherwise known as the Fit CEO, the owner of NLCA, a coaching company that serves to help online fitness coaches become more professional and maximize their overall impact in the online fitness industry. Chad, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. The last podcast I was on, they said I didn't need an introduction as well, but I only have 8,000 followers on Instagram, so I'm still very much in the beginning phases, but I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, man. It must be that you're doing something right if people continuously say that, so that's awesome.
Work in progress.
Yes, sir. Guys, this is going to be a fun one. A lot of people, we share a very mutual clientele. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Fit Bros.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And a lot of the Fit Pros we work with actually have worked with you in the past, and that's something that I'm tremendously grateful for because, guys, Chad, just to kind of set the stage here, Chad does a really good job of helping people build really solid fitness businesses, okay? Like he does a really good job of building the structures and getting all those systems in place because this isn't an advertisement for NLCA, but I will give credit where it's due. I've worked with a lot of different Fit Pros from a lot of different coaches. And I'm going to be the very first one to say that not all coaches or programs are created equal. That's where I need a soundboard here.
If only Riverside had that.
It does, actually. It's just another button here. I got 1 second. Guys, the soundboard. There it is. Can you hear that?
All I hear is it sounds like you were like in a shower.
Okay, no, that was supposed to be clapping. So, guys, we're still working on the streaming platform. So, Chad, tell me, when you worked with how many fitness coaches over the past couple of years?
Don't have an exact number, but I do know it's over 2,000.
Over 2,000 fitness coaches. So I feel like you probably have a pretty solid perspective on who does well and maybe who doesn't do so well. Would you agree?
I would say so. I would like to think so, hopefully.
Okay. So when someone comes to you, Chad, and they say, Chad, I want to be a Fit Pro, or I want to scale my business, or I want to make more money in this industry, replace my job, whatever it is, if you had to boil it down to just one, and this is going to be hard, just one quality that someone could have and that you knew that they would be successful in this space, what would that be?
Is this with the assumption that their goal is to scale the biggest possible business?
Let's say that, and then we can play devil's advocate on the other end there.
Okay, really quick. The reason I asked about that assumption is something that this has been actually pretty introspective for me and something that's been helpful for a lot of NLCA students is when I first started NLCA, I just finished my fitness business and moved on and went into the consulting. And my mindset has always been growth, very much the avatar that you just painted. But I would say over the past year, I've learned a lot of individuals aren't like me. So I always like to ask, like right in the beginning of our coaching relationship, like what's the goal? Do you want a lifestyle business here? Are you trying to grow the biggest business possible? At least from my experience, I've seen that most people are in this for the lifestyle side, not as much like pure entrepreneurship. But if we're talking pure entrepreneurship, the one character trait that comes to mind is obsession. I would say the biggest thing that has stood out in my life since I've started this in 2015 is don't tell my wife this, but I feel like my business has just been the thing that I've put the most amount of time in, the most amount of thought in, the most amount of passion in. And, I'm waking up, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to bed, I'm thinking about it. If I have an idea, I'm finding a notebook, I can write it down, opening up my phone. I would say that I'm fully obsessed. I wake up, I listen to business podcasts. I listen anytime I get away from the computer, I'm making lunch, I'm listening to a business podcast. It's just it's a lifestyle. I'm fully engulfed in it, and I would say that's the biggest character trait.
I like that because I think with obsession, it kind of encompasses a lot of other traits, I think, that typically come with that, right?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of traits that I'm sure we can unpack, but I would say obsession's the biggest one.
Yeah. I would honestly say, I think you and I are probably similar in that respect, and maybe business owners in general who have that desire to kind of scale up and beyond. When I got into sales, it was the same. It was the same concept, right? It was like that constant obsession, running through reframes, practicing as I'm going to bed. It was like saying my prayers at night was like going through a couple of reframes. And it's funny how that works out. So I would honestly agree. I think obsession is you hit it on the head there.
Yeah, and I didn't have a background. I didn't have a sales job prior to this, but the first skill that I fell in love with, and the one that really catapulted me, was the skill of sales. And I would say there were so many parallels with like the obsession character trait, from like a really good salesperson to a really good CEO and leader and business owner. So that's why I'm always going to be a proponent of people doubling down on sales, learning that skill, because there has to be a level of obsession to get good at sales that translates to being a good CEO.
100%. I think it's just that skill of being able to understand people, right? Because with being a CEO, I mean, that's what people don't. I think people look past that sometimes when they get into like this I'll call it a game, this game of entrepreneurship. Is like you're thinking of like the marketing and the sales and this and that, but you don't understand. Like a lot of people look past the fact that like at a foundational aspect, it is just building relationships with your staff, with your clients, with your prospects. It's just all relationship building.
Yeah, 100%. Hormozy says it best. It's there's 3 skills to scale. There's sales, marketing, and leadership is the third one, and that's usually the hardest one for people to finally actualize or get good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. He says something else too that always stuck out. It's simple scales, fancy fails.
Yeah, 100%. I struggle with that one sometimes, but yeah.
I do too. It's like that visionary aspect. You're coming up with all these different ideas. You're like, dude, what if we did this and this and this? And you're just like, dude, chill out. Like,
I know. I'm like a little too compulsive sometimes with ideas and changing things and fixing things. Sometimes my team just has to say like, F off, we got this.
I think it's good to have that too. It's just like when people who aren't afraid to be like, dude, just relax. Like we have something that's working. Let's keep, So I'm the exact same way. Now, would you agree, because you said something a moment ago, where it's the lifestyle or like the scaling?
Yep.
Would you agree that it's kind of similar to, and the reason I'm asking is because this just came up in my life where I signed up for a new coach and they're like, are you more lifestyle or are you going competition? It's kind of like that same mentality, would you say? It's like the lifestyle is like, I want to just be comfortable. I want to look good. I want like, if I got 3 or 4 abs and I look pretty good on the beach, I'm pumped. Like that's where I'm at in like my fitness. But I've also done like competitions in the past where it's a whole different mindset where I think that obsession really comes into play.
Yeah, 100%. The question is, what was the question again specifically?
I guess from a general perspective, would you agree with that? That it's like kind of like the same mentalities in fitness, something that I believe everyone listening to this podcast can relate to.
Yeah, 100%. You competed too? I competed way back in the day, but yeah, 100%. My obsession when I competed was very much different than what I'm trying to achieve now. I'm just trying to look good at my wedding.
There it is. Yeah, I did a men's physique competition. Did you do like bodybuilding or classic or physique?
No, I'm not big enough for that, or at least not back then. I just did men's physique.
Yeah, dude, that is. I suppose if I had a few obsessions at that time, it was, I would say carbs. I was obsessed with, obviously, looking good and trying to get in shape. But, dude, I went on a bender with Pop-Tarts afterwards. That was my obsession at the time.
Sounds like you were watching like Christian Guzman and all the YouTube.
I may have been. Yeah. It was a different time, that's for sure. What year did you compete?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember. I think it was like 2017. It was in the early days for sure. But yeah. Same thing. I watched a ton of Christian Guzman, all those different YouTube guys, and I was like, I'm going to give this a try.
Nice. Okay, so we talked about 3 different skills, right? You said marketing, sales, and leadership.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yep.
If you had to pick one of those 3, right, and you could only be good at one, what do you think would make you the most profitable?
Ooh. Leadership. I would say leadership, because then I can recruit the individual who's good at marketing and recruit the individual who's good at sales, not have those skills, and lead them to be successful at the company.
Mm-hmm. So building that team around you is pretty important.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. That's how like my brain operates. It's like, what would you rather have if you could only have one? I don't know why, but I always think like in terms of those.
I'll tell you
those
where my
questions.
gut went. My gut
Yeah.
went sales because
Yeah.
I think I have a emotional pull or draw to
Hmm.
sales. But then my brain was like, no, you should pick leadership.
Yeah. I think I should have picked leadership. See, I was the I couldn't have been more opposite. I was like, leadership sounds like the winning answer in an interview, but for me, I think it still comes back to sales because I just feel one, that's my brand, right? So it'd be silly to pick something other. But two, I think it allows you to build those relationships and to I think being in sales and you're in sales, we're all in sales in some aspect or another, but it forces you to see opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Where you're constantly looking for, is there potential here? Is there potential there? And I think just having that mindset will take you pretty far. Maybe not as far as you could with leadership, but I think it would take you pretty far.
My rationale, if I pick sales, my rationale was going to be that there's a element of leadership within sales,
Hmm.
so you kind of can dual those skills together.
Hmm.
But you're very right in terms of like there's nothing like the sales mindset. When you are like fully engulfed in the sales mindset, you do
Yeah.
see opportunity different, and you're just like I don't know. I view it the same way as like training for sports. I don't know if you played sports growing up, but like
Yep.
you're just sharp. You're just on it.
Hmm. Yep.
There's nothing like that sales energy.
Hmm. So rewind it back just a moment. You said one of the first questions you asked, which is it's a really similar thing. When we bring in new students to like C4F, the first thing I want to do is get a financial picture, right? I want to see because anybody can come and they can say I want to scale. Well, that's great. One, I want to know what scale means to you. That means drastically different things across the entire board. But two, are you in a position where you can scale, right? Similar to the client who comes to you and says, I want to lose weight. It's like, well, your metabolism is in no position to do anything, right? We need to, reverse that, whatever it is, right? So how is your approach different for someone who says, Chad, take me to the moon, or Chad, take me to replace this job?
Yeah, 100%. So the big belief that we have is if you are going to get to the place where you are going to scale and start outsourcing and managing and leading, at least this is one of my personal beliefs. This is reflected in NLCA. We do believe that you need to have some sense of that skill yourself. So if
Mm-hmm.
an individual comes to us, they're just starting their online fitness coaching business, they're going to go through our introductory program regardless if
Mm-hmm.
they have the skill of wanting to make $100,000 a month, a million a month, whatever it may be. Because we believe that they need to have the skill before they start delegating it and managing it and leading it. That's just a personal belief that I have that has been reflected in the
Sure.
NLCA program. So that's at the baseline level or high level. That's the process. Is we'll take them through the introductory, we'll give them the necessary skills, and then we'll teach them how to outsource in our second program.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like they need to be, I don't want to say competent, do you feel like they have to be proficient in some degree at that skill
I
set?
think
Or
they need to understand their process enough to at least be able
okay.
to coach it and teach it. I also think they need to learn what works and what doesn't work. Do they need to be the best ever at selling, marketing, and client delivery and every other skill? No.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, competent would be a good word and have enough. Really, the goal is to have enough experience under their belt that if a
Sure.
problem comes up, they'll know how to direct their staff member.
Good point. Good point. That was something I struggled with early on because I didn't know anything about marketing. Somebody told me what a funnel was. It's like, what the, which is
It's
really,
called
really,
funnels, right?
yeah. I was like, what is a funnel? Which oddly enough, yesterday I just applied for our 2 Comma Club award. So
Nice.
I learned what a funnel was finally,
Yeah,
which is
yeah. How do
which
you
is
apply for that? That's cool. I want that.
yeah. It's really very simple. You just go on, you have an application, you pay $500, you send them a couple screenshots, walk them through an Illume video of your process, like how it produced. It's got to be at least 1 million. So you say, this is how we used your website ClickFunnels to produce this amount, and then they say, cool. What do you want on your plaque? And then they ship it in the mail, and then you put it up behind you somewhere where everybody puts it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of their process.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
yeah.
That will be good for ads and whatnot.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's the big thing. So not to shift this as a like look at me, but early on, I didn't have any idea what a funnel was or what it was designed to do or anything. I hated marketing, hated marketing. I mean, to this day, I dislike marketing, but I it's because I
Well, you're a
finally
sales guy.
understand it. Yeah, I like sales. I like sales. So it's like I don't want to sit here and fight for leads, but it was because that the fact that I didn't understand it made me just despise it, right?
Mm.
then you start to understand it a little bit more and you're like, okay, this isn't so bad. But like you dislike things, in my opinion, because you probably don't feel good at them, right?
It's just selling with more leverage, right? Marketing. Do you view
Yeah.
it that way now?
I still hire a team. I still don't consider myself even remotely a competitor in that space. So I took the Hormozy approach, and I heard him say this on a podcast the other day, and I was like, hey, that's kind of what I did. I agree with. All right, let me set the stage because now I'm saying four different things. One, I agree with you 100%. You should know what you are doing or what should be intended for a position before you can hire somebody into it. Because if you don't know what the KPI should be, you don't know what the expectations should be, and how can you manage somebody on something that you've never done?
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know what it looks like.
That's a recipe for disaster. It's like you coming onto, I don't know, coming onto a construction site, having never done construction, and you're telling everybody what should be done. Does anybody respect that guy?
No.
No, never. It's like the safety guy, right? On every construction site, it's the safety officer is like, dude, come on, because he's telling everybody what to do when he's never worked the job. Yeah. So I agree with that. Now, Hormozy was on a podcast maybe 2 weeks ago. He said, because you know how he speaks, very simple, right? Yeah. Very, I don't want to say simple-minded, but simple process driven. He said to replace whatever you dislike as soon as you can. He's like, for me, payroll. He's like, to this day, I've done maybe one payroll ever in my life. I hated it, so it was the first thing I outsourced, and I've never done it again since.
Does
so like say again?
Does anyone like payroll?
Yeah, nobody likes it, but I'm like, do you feel like he should have learned it first? Or do you feel like in those situations, there's certain situations where you should outsource it sooner than later?
Yeah, now we're peeling back the layers of the onion, right? I would say the big thing there is how much leverage does payroll have to the growth of his business? I would say very little. So like outsourcing that first makes a lot of sense, but him developing at least an aptitude to market, I would say has that necessary leverage where it's probably worth pushing past the discomfort to learn that skill.
That's fair. That's a good answer. I dig that. I agree. I think if it's not a direct money-making activity, I think it could probably be outsourced. Now, and I'll say this for the record here. I disagreed with you for a long time, Chad, on because my business was closer placement, right, at the time. And I wanted to put closers on offers that really weren't prepared to have a closer. And it was where you and I were kind of going back and forth a little bit. And I think that's when you came to that conclusion that you should be competent at it before you outsource it. And it's funny because that's something I disagreed with to like my core, right? And on some occasions, it has been okay, right? But I do agree with you in that sense that people should learn how to sell their own product because they're going to do it better. They're going to do it better, and if they don't know how to do it, they're always going to be reliant on somebody else to do that for them. Yeah. If you can't find a closer, your business dies. Simple as that.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think there's just requirement, right? Like if an individual can sell and make six figures on their own, they probably have enough skill to start managing. But then, we get into like the skill of managing sales is like a whole other beast, right? Like now you got to go and start getting courses on that and learning this skill as well. Because it's not just the selling alone that's going to make you a good manager either. So I feel like there's so many dichotomies to what we're talking about right now.
And a lot of it, I think, just comes with failing over and over and over until you just learn not to. It's like putting your hand on a hot stove. It's like, well, I won't do that again.
Yeah. It's being okay with sucking.
100%.
There's many things I suck at. There's a reason that my business isn't at 100 million because I suck at making $100 million businesses. So.
On that one criteria, I guess that's us in the same boat there. Now, here's a fun question for you, Chad. Without saying names, because I don't want people in my inbox are blowing me up on any of these, but in the business coaching space, right, in our business, helping Fit Pros scale their businesses, what are some problems you see in the industry?
First thing that comes to mind is lack of transparency. I would say is the biggest thing, and false promises. One thing that we've learned, I would say, over the past year and a half is, and bringing it back to marketing, is database marketing. Really having good client success metrics that are tied to specific milestones and using that as your marketing push, because now you're taking factual client evidence that you have and using that as your leverage for marketing. For example, like how long does it take a student on average to go full time? How long does it take for them on average to get their first client, right? So now we're bringing factual evidence to marketing, and I just feel like our space is missing that level of transparency and proper expectation setting.
Yeah. Are you getting bombarded with the DMs too, where it's I'll take your business to 100 million by Monday, 8 million qualified leads by Tuesday?
Yeah. We get some pretty wild ones outside of that as well, but yeah.
I think, from my perspective, I think one of the biggest issues in not even just our space, but the digital marketing space, is how diluted and desensitized we become to numbers, right? If someone had told me 8 figures a year ago, I'd be like, 8 figures? But now it's 9 figures. Now it's 10 figures. Now it's get a copy of our $1 billion script.
Yeah.
It just feels like everybody in the industry is like, well, I can just inflate this one more number and it should sell. And for a period of time, I think it does. But now we're at a point where numbers mean nothing. I think there's a lack of trust. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do think there's a lack of trust. One thing in our sales process that we try to do is we on Zoom will share our screen and we'll show a lot of the back end. So we'll show them the course, we'll show them a lot about the process. And one of the pieces of feedback that we get positive that makes me really proud is like, wow, thank you for showing me all this. Like, this is different from other processes that I've gone through. Like, they don't show me any of the back end and have this high asking price. So yes, I would agree.
Yeah. That's at least that's my impression of it. It's like, how can you not get burnout with the same exact message over and over and over? And now it's like, again, 8 figures, 9 figures. It means nothing. One thing that we do.
Sorry, really random thought I just had. I think the coaching company, and we haven't even really made this pivot, so I'm just talking kind of like hypothetically here, but I think the coaching company that successfully shifts to a branding approach and not a direct marketing approach is going to be the one that stands out in the next couple of years for sure, because of the dead messaging that you're talking about.
I agree. It's more of like that tribe aspect, right? Like building that, cultivating that community.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, what were we talking about a moment ago?
You were about to say something and I rudely interrupted you.
No, it's okay. It just I lost it. We were on a topic.
We were talking about transparency.
Yes, sir. Yes. So one of the things that we do too is with like that transparency aspect, we track everybody's KPIs. Like everybody that comes in, we track a few different metrics. Where you were, I like a 3-month average, right? Like if you can give me a 3-month average, I feel like that's a really good snapshot of where your business was before you come work with us. So we go through that, a 3-month snapshot, where you want to be, right? And then we reevaluate that like consistently in our one-to-ones. But what I'll actually do, like with the new prospect, is I'll show them, hey, you're at 10,000 per month. You want to be at 30,000. Here's 3 clients that we took from this exact journey. And then they can actually see, yep, Sally here hit 10,000 month 1, month 2 she hit 24,000, month 3 she hit 36. It's like, now I get that, like I'm just showing you the good ones, so I'll just, I've actually, I've let them pick. I'm like, you pick any of these, right? And, without names, of course, but they can just show and actually see the data, and they have that autonomy to actually choose. So I'm not just cherry picking the good ones. It's like, yeah, you can see actual progress here. And I think that resonates a lot, where people can see like real journeys. It's just like showing clients like, hey, this is where Sam was at 6 months into their diet, right?
Yeah, increasing the perceived likelihood of achievement. I like it.
That's a very intellectual way of saying it. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun to walk them through and just kind of show them what could reasonably be achieved in this time period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, and I like that you let them choose as well. I don't know if you said it, but you said sometimes you'll even show them a bad example.
I will.
Nice. That's awesome.
Now, granted, there's usually a reason, right? And so I had to do this with a current student the other day. I said, hey, the reason you're not selling very well is because we're not process driven, right? We're kind of shooting from the hip still. Here's a client who was the exact same way, and then you can actually see. I can tell you afterwards who it was because we both know her. But like it was someone who, up to a certain point, she was not. She was following it close. When it's like when you follow something close, as in like good enough. Like Chad, if you had a set of macros and you were just getting close, what do you think that's going to do?
Get close results.
Close results. Not anything groundbreaking though, right?
Nope.
So it's like until you focus on the process, not the script, but the process, this is when you'll start to see change. So like that client went from 23% closing at like $9,000 that month to a $30,000 month at 67%. And it was a light switch. Just flicked it on, done.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so this is not an advertisement. What I'm saying is like when you can prove things with data, I feel like it just resonates with people so much more than just false promises.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of lack of transparency in the industry. Do you agree that that's the number one problem, or do you think there's another problem that's maybe bigger than that?
I think transparency is a big one. I think the other one is just lack of attention. I was on a call with an influencer in like the digital sales space, and he said something that I will probably never forget. He said, if you see a coach more in their marketing than you do once you've joined their program and paid the high ticket, then there's a problem. And it's like if you're not at least a regular face in some capacity, you don't have to be getting on one-to-ones, right? You scale past that, but like in my opinion, if somebody's paying $10,000-$15,000 and they're buying a person, right? Like if they see me and then never see me ever once ever in the program, I think that's an issue.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of just the one-to-one model in general. I feel like a lot of the business coaching programs that are out there are stuck in like the group model and haven't transferred over to that one-to-one model, even with their assistant coaches.
I think that wave is kind of come crashing down from the courses.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I heard it, but somebody was just talking about this, like where that course model where you're just selling just courses. I think it's being phased out, and I think maybe it is that lack of transparency or lack of trust that's causing that.
Yeah, 100%. It takes a very unique person to be able to just have a course and not have the one-to-one support.
A very unique person in like a very specific industry where it's like, it's probably not an industry that deals with people. It's probably more of like a service-based industry.
Yeah, 100%. Plus, you just learn more with the one-to-one anyways.
Always. Now, Chad, you run and operate a seven-figure business. So let's shift it over, right? We've talked students, we've talked business, let's talk personal. Right?
Yeah, let's do it.
How many hours a week do you feel like you work as a CEO of a seven-figure business?
A lot, definitely a lot. I don't have specific numbers because I don't track it, but I can just walk you through like a typical day in the life. Wake up 4:30, 4:45. I always do. This is a non-negotiable. I always get a walk in the morning. Creates a little buffer before diving right into work. It's something that I personally feel like I need. Usually I start work right around 6, go through my day. Basically I'm working all day except for maybe the 30 minutes for lunch and then an hour workout. And then usually I'm stopping around, I would say around 7:30. And I work 6 days a week and a half day on Saturday. So yeah, a lot of hours. Most of them, I would say.
Yeah, most of the hours, the waking hours. Yeah. It's pretty intense, dude. You said 4 o'clock?
Yeah. 4:30, 5:30. Usually 4:45 is the sweet spot for me.
Yeah. I was talking to Kayla Diamond. Shout out to Kayla. I love her.
Yeah, she's awesome.
We were comparing morning routines, and I think I have I think that morning routine is probably killer, like getting up, getting movement in. Mine is so basic, and I was like, it's something that I look forward to. Brooke can't understand it because Brooke is you. She's up, she's gotta walk the dog, she's gotta make a coffee, have a full breakfast. And then and only then can she go to the gym and then come back and work. And I'm like, okay, I dig that. Me, 5:30 is my time in the morning. I got a robe. If you guys don't own a robe, buy a freaking robe, dude. There is nothing better than a nice robe. Throw that robe on. I shuffle out, get into my office. I put a blanket on. I turn the fan up so it gets real cold. And It's got to be the funniest sight in the world. I'll send videos. I send Loom videos to my staff, and it's literally me bundled up in a robe with my Celsius. And it's like, that is what I look forward to every single day. I can't even, it's a sight to see, dude.
That is definitely a sight to see. You got to put that on your Instagram or somehow make that an ad.
Yeah, that's what it's got to be. So I'm just literally, it's just like my face is out of the blanket, and I'm like, I don't know why. I just from 5:30 to 7 when I go to the gym, it's like that hour and a half is the deepest focused work I can possibly do, and I haven't even taken but 5 steps, and I don't know.
Yeah, mornings are my most productive time. I purposely schedule no meetings before 11 a.m. All my like calls and meetings are after 11, just because I get all my best work done before 11.
Yep, that's what they say. Have you read the book When by Daniel Pink?
I haven't, no.
Are you familiar with him at all?
No, I'm not.
You would like him. He's all data. Everything is data. That's
Daniel
where I think.
Pink?
Yep. He wrote To Sell Is Human. He wrote the book When. He has a few others, but everything he says is like he'll say something, and then he'll back it up with nothing but case studies and factual data to support any idea that he has, right? So the book When, basically, it's like the premise that we are most creative when we're as close to like a dreamlike state as possible. So like how to structure your day, I really think if you read or listen, let me know how you like it. But you structure your day based on when your body is most likely to accomplish that task at the highest level, right? So all creative work should be done when you're tired, which is backwards, it seems. But when you're in that dreamlike state, that's what forces creativity, right?
Yep.
Then he recommends not taking any calls until a certain point in the day. And then what is it, like 2:38 p.m. universally amongst all cultures, all countries, everywhere in the entire world. It's like 2:38 or 3:38 or something like that is universally the most unproductive time in the entire world, backed by like billions of stats. So it's like,
Yes, the time.
take that time off. Take a lunch break at that time. That's when you are going to statistically be at your lowest low of the day. Like, why work through that?
That's so true, man. I mean, I haven't read the book, but like 3 o'clock, I suck at 3 o'clock.
Yep.
I'm like so tired at 3. That's when I feel like I need another coffee.
Yep. So it's like if that's your most unproductive time, then that's when I like to get up and go for a walk or go play fetch with the dog, because I'm like, I am garbage. Nobody wants coaching from me right now because it's going to take a long buffer to think before I say anything at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, guys, we are at the point. We are adding something fun. I was talking to Chad about this. He seemed to like the idea. So we're adding, it's going to be called, Is It Legit or Is It Bullshit? Okay. We are going to break down different topics. What's that?
Am I the first to do this?
You were the very first, man. You were the
All
very
right,
first.
let's do it.
We're going to take different topics in the industry, in the sales, fitness, business coaching industry, and we're going to say if it's legit or if it's bullshit and why. Okay, so the very first one here, this is a hot one with a potentially pending recession.
AI.
It
No.
suggests that I should have put some AI in here. There will be a purge of online coaches in the online coaching industry.
Meaning a lot of people will quit because of the recession.
People will quit. Correct.
Definitely factual. I feel like I'm already seeing it. I already feel like I'm seeing coaches who haven't quit, but have pulled back on what they're looking to accomplish or changed their goals. So definitely factual.
I have it marked as legit on my end too. You took the words out of my mouth. I've already seen it. This isn't to scare anybody there, but I think it's to offer that transparency and to, I think, maybe align expectations, right? You're not coming into an industry right now where you're going to just pop off typically, right? So
I saw really quick. I saw a graph of the coaching industry in the next 10 years. And it's supposed to go from 18 billion to 130 billion in the next 10 years. So trajectory growth wise, still going in the right direction. Definitely going to hit a speed bump though. If we haven't already.
I feel like we're there. And I think I saw you put a reel up of that, didn't you?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, I was watching that and I thought it was cool. So I think it's just like stocks, right? Never do you see a stock just do this, right? Sometimes if it's GameStop or AMC or whatever it is, you're buying anything crazy like that. But there's always corrections in the market. And I think what we're in the middle of is a correction. How long? I really don't know. I don't think anyone could say for certain, but I think we are in the middle of one.
I feel like we've been in one. I don't know your thought, but I feel like we've been in one for definitely 6 months, if not maybe already 12 months.
I had 6 months on the tip of my tongue. So 6 months, I think the beginning of the year just didn't start off like, it was like January. And it was just like January just kind of happened. And I was
Yep.
like, okay, that wasn't completely expected. So
Yeah.
I think so. And I think with us coming up on like an election, and I think that always throws a wrench in everything. It has more impact than I think what people realize.
Yeah, 100%, especially in this divided country.
So that's kind of a play on this one. Now, this one, you might be surprised at my answer, but there are more objections now than 12 months ago
More objections now than 12
on the
months ago.
sales call. Let me preface on the sales call.
Man, I want to say factual. I want to say that's factual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you're going to say the opposite just based
I
on your prelude there.
Yeah, I guess I gave it away. I think there are more objections in the DMs.
Mm,
I think it's
that's fair.
harder to get people on a call.
Yeah.
But I think from a sales perspective, I think they've always existed. I think
Yeah.
if they're getting on a call with you at this point, the likelihood of them giving an objection probably would have happened upstream if they were
Yeah.
going to give it. But
So you're
what's your
saying,
take?
so you're saying I could definitely, when you paint that picture, I could definitely see it. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying it's neutral. It hasn't changed in terms of the amount of sales objections, but
Hmm.
harder to get people on a call. I would say that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the filters just kind of moved up where it's like if you're pitching a 60-minute call, by the way, guys, I mean, we offer, I don't know what you recommend at this point, Chad. We like a 2-call close. That's kind of been our jam. But a big reason of that is because it's just easier to book calls. I mean, if
Yeah.
you say 10, 15 minutes, you're going to get a lot more yeses than 60 minutes to commit to an absolute stranger, especially right now.
Yeah. I don't have any factual evidence to make a specific claim. I've seen it more coaching company specific. Some people crush the 2 call, some people crush the 1 call.
Hmm.
For us, the 1 call has still been effective.
Yeah, and it's not to suggest that it's not effective. I've seen both as well. I think from a generalized standpoint, though, if you don't have like a very strong branding, I feel like people really have to warm up to you.
Yeah, that's fair. If your marketing isn't solid, if you don't have a good nurture process, if you're not very good in the DMs, yeah,
Hmm.
100%.
I think the nurture process there, you hit it right on the head. That's what that allows us to do is if there are gaps in our process and our marketing, which there almost always are, right? Nothing's really foolproof. It's like that nurture process serves as like the buffer. It allows us to correct anything that maybe wasn't foolproof. We get them on the triage, then we can send them the case studies, the testimonials, and then just kind of build that relationship, right? Where you can talk about something non-sales related in between the closing call, and then they're like, Chad's a cool dude, right?
Yeah, I did leave out a piece of information actually. We do have in our lead grading process, if we do pick up that maybe they're not ready for a 1 call close, we do push them to triage, but it's not a set 2 call close. We have more of like a
Sure.
hybrid approach.
Yeah. So based on like qualification, like qualifying questions, right?
Yeah, and just the setter's intuitiveness and like gut feel on where
Yeah.
this lead is at.
I think that's a fair system. I do.
Yeah.
All right, this one. More money, more stress. Legit or bullshit?
Hmm. No, BS, responsibility. I don't think money is the stressor. I think it's anytime you're growth oriented and you're trying to expand, you're bringing more staff members on, your goal and vision gets bigger. I think that extra responsibility naturally brings stress, but I don't think it's money specific. No.
Yeah, I guess yeah. So from that perspective, it's like the more money, more problems, right? So like the problems that are associated with managing more money, you feel like causes it, but not the money in nature. Is that right?
I think the pursuit of more money, like any pursuit of more of anything, like having a bigger goal, I think there's going to be stress that's associated with that because you have to expand as a person and tread waters that you haven't been in previously. But I don't think once that person possesses the money, I don't think that that's the stressing point.
I would agree there. I have BS written down too. I think I was more stressed when I didn't have very much money because then there's like you're growing a business and you don't have very much money, right? So like those are two very heavy forces kind of weighing on you.
Yeah. When you put it that way, I can remove a lot of my stress with a snap of a finger. It would just be stopping a lot of the projects, the growth projects that we're working on, and all my stress would be eliminated, and I would be good. So yeah, I think money. Yeah, I think you're right. Once you have the money, it does eliminate a lot of that stress.
Because you don't have to do that. Like there's like a do or die aspect, and then there's like a how hard do I want to press on this button, right? Which is kind of where you're at from what it sounds like. Like do I want to speed up or do I want to coast? And it's really, in my opinion, it's really nice to have that decision.
Yeah, it is a choice. When you put it that way, I haven't thought about it that way in a while. A lot of our stress is just our choice.
It's self-inflicted constantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
I had a conversation with a client yesterday, not yesterday. It's Monday. What am I thinking? Friday. That's after a full weekend of work where it's one of those weekends, where she basically, it came to like that point where I'm like, okay, we've kind of checked the boxes. Like, what do you want from here? Like, I feel like I've done like what we were hoping for. Do you want to press on the gas or do you want to coast? And she's like, and she had, and if she's listening, I love it, right? But this made my whole day. Was she had kids, getting into the cupboards behind her and doing all this stuff. She's obviously managing a lot, and she's like, I just want to spend time with my family. I said, you can. She's like, yeah, but like I obviously have to keep up with sales. I was like, no, you don't. Like you literally don't have to. Like you have enough of a recurring revenue. We can create urgency now in your post, which she did. She already has like an abundance of applications. I was like, just say that you're taking on 3 clients and that's it, and stick to it. Bring on 3 clients. You have a great recurring revenue. Like go spend the summer with your kids. And it was like that moment that we kind of had on the call. She's like, oh shit. Like I do have that choice. And I just thought that was like a cool thing. It's like it doesn't feel like you do until like you're presented with the option. You're like, wait a minute.
Doesn't feel like you do at all. And I think that's the catch-22 with like online coaching is once you get in the business and you're growing the business, like you forget about all the reasons why you got into the business in the first place, which is like the freedom, the travel, the lifestyle, right? And coming back to that question, I think that's why it's so important that people figure out like, what do they want out of this? Is it lifestyle? Is it growth? They're 2 very different things. So you got to get clear on it.
You have to stick to it too, I think, because it gets exciting, right? Like I can reference Brooke here because she's in the midst of it right now. Like the goal for us was always like build a nice cash flowing business, something we absolutely love, and then allow us to travel and do all the things that we like doing. And now she kind of has like her ads are really, really, really picking up. And I'm like, is this what you want? Because you're about to step into territory where you're going to have another pullback where we have to add a lot more staff to this. So it's like you need to really, because when you're in the middle, dude, it's hard.
Yeah. I think you get accustomed to the growth routine as well. Like if they get accustomed to the growth routine, it's easy to lose sight on the original vision.
Because it's exciting. And it's like saying no to more money. How could you do that? But it's like,
it's the best drug in the world, the growth routine of business.
It is addicting. That is for sure. All right. 2 more here, guys. Hire slow, fire fast. Legit or bullshit?
Hire slow, fire fast. I personally have not stuck to this to its original intent. If I feel really good about somebody and have a good gut intuition about somebody, I will hire fast. It's not an always thing, but it's a sometimes thing. So I'll say BS from the concept of like, this is going to be every single hire that you go through.
Sure.
But I would say for speaking generally, it's a good thought model.
I was not good at firing people for a long time. It was, how did you feel doing it the first couple times?
Terrible. I literally, in our leadership meeting this morning, I said one of my traits that I think I need to personally work on better is handling hard conversations and having hard conversations more frequently when I feel like I actually want to have them, and not avoiding even just the smallest little ones. I would say that's probably personally the thing that I'm working on the most. So it's hard as fuck.
It is. I would always feel like I had to, like if I was letting someone go, I'd have to I'm like, but I have a call set up with so-and-so. They got jobs like that. You can reach out to. It was always like, hey, you can't be here, but I have alternatives for you. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it was like I had to like justify the whole situation instead of just saying like, hey, dude, it's just not working.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think if you think that way, it's a good thing, right? It shows that you actually care about your staff and your clients and what you have going on.
Yeah. But I was very bad at getting to the point. Like,
Yeah.
why do I have this other job lined up? Well, because because you don't have one here anymore.
Yeah. Don't know
Not,
how else to say it.
yeah. It's a skill. It is a skill.
Yeah.
All right, last one here. Cost. Now this one, I'm very interested to get your
Well,
take.
what do you think? Do you think it's BS? Higher,
Higher
higher,
slope.
or do you think it's
I
factual?
like the concept.
Yeah.
I like the concept, and I know that's a bogus answer. I like the concept of it being very methodical and like who you bring in. And if it's not working and they're clearly not hitting like certain standards, then get rid of them as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I like that concept because I've seen the opposite of it in like a corporate stance. Like, I mean, you know this, everybody knows this. It's really hard to fire people in America.
Yeah.
Like really, really hard in corporate America to let somebody go because there's a potential for lawsuits and settlement. There's just so much that has to go into it. So like at my previous job, when somebody was not good at their job, it was like you had to gather a mountain of evidence to support your decision. And that's in healthcare. Like that's healthcare corporate. So it's like the evidence that you're gathering is actually could be detrimental to somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And we're
And you
talking.
got to prolong the process, right? You got to put them on a performance improvement plan, so
Yep.
now they're in the company longer.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a whole thing.
So that's why I say I like the concept. If something's not working out, it would be nice to be able to fire people much quicker because you're waiting for something potentially, I don't want to keep using the word detrimental, but you're waiting for something bad to happen before you're justified. And it's like, no, you should be able to let somebody go if you feel that what they're doing is not right, right?
Yeah. Or if it's just not a good fit. Sometimes relationally, it's not a good fit. And that's reason enough.
And you can't say that anymore. You can't say it's not a good culture fit because it's like, well, why? Is it because I'm 1/8 Cherokee, right? Is that why? It's just it's a weird time. So this one is a little bit more in depth. So I heard this concept a long time ago, and then I heard it recently on a podcast again, and it like was just sitting in the forefront of my brain. Okay, it's the concept that if you've been around long enough, specifically in like a coaching business, but not always, but let's say for the sake of coaching, if you've been around long enough, your positive testimonials are going to stack up, right?
Yep.
But consequently, your negative will slowly stack up too. And your negative will always outweigh your positive from like a one-to-one standpoint, right? Like one negative review is going to have 5 times the impact, I think, as a stat than a positive one, right?
Yeah.
So if you're around long enough, you'll start to see where those negatives will stack up. And even if comparatively they're much smaller, they're still going to have an impact, right? So the concept is that your cost per acquisition will go up always inevitably the longer you're around in business. Do you feel like that's true?
I'm only going to speak from personal experience. Our cost per acquisition has more or less stayed the same or stayed within a range plus or minus. And this is going on year 4 now. So just from personal experience, I would say false. But yeah, I'm going to stick with personal experience. So I'm going to go BS.
I think that's fair. I have it as legit, but we haven't. I mean, respectfully, we haven't been around. We just hit the 12-month, like 2 weeks ago.
Really? I thought you were at least 2 years. It feels like it's been 2 years.
It feels. I feel like it's weighing on me like it's been 2 years, but from when we launched the.
Well, with this 4K, bro, we look pretty good.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm sweating because we were out on the lake yesterday. Brooke gets upset because I don't put sunscreen on, and here I am burnt like
Caitlin
a
does the
lobster.
same thing, so
Yeah.
don't worry.
So we haven't been around to experience that long enough, but I did have someone on our team that worked on a much larger team. We're talking not a 9-figure business, but like 50 million plus per year. And
Damn, let's go.
they're still growing, that company, right? But their cost per acquisition, from what I was told by the guy that was working with us, is that it was increasing because those negative reviews were slowly creeping up. And when people have a negative experience, they're more likely to voice it all over, right?
Yeah.
All over social media. So like, from what I was told, I never got specific numbers. It sounded like they were even somebody at that size was experiencing a major pullback or increase in like cost per acquisition.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily steady or not. I think it's just like there's probably pullbacks, then you launch like a new campaign, and then it goes back up, whatever it is.
Yeah, tying back that point we made earlier, I think the coaching company that can nail the branding piece and isn't just direct marketing is going to be the one that stands out and maybe rises above what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, final question. What is your, well, 2 questions. Favorite book recommendation? You get 1.
Favorite book recommendation, I'm going to go off of the book I enjoyed most so far this year is CEO Excellence. I'm drawing a blank on the author. I believe it is a female. I forget her name though. But that book was the one that resonated with me most. It was the most specific about the role of a CEO. I think the reason I liked it the most is because the role of a CEO is very amorphous, right? Everybody has their own definition. And I feel like this one laid it out very clearly. So that clarity was very helpful.
Nice. All right. I like writing these down when I get my credit on Audible. I like to take recommendations there. Okay. Best podcast?
Best podcast. Man, I'm such a person of habit. I really like Real AF. That's the one I come back to a lot. I don't really listen too much for the political side. I actually haven't listened to their political podcast part ever. I listened to the Q&A ones, and then like his rants. I would say that one's been enjoyable for me this year. And then Gary Vee's podcast I listen to on and off, but I would say those 2 seem to be the consistent ones for me. The Game by Alistair Mosey too, I would say. And actually, sorry, one more. Layla Hermosi has a good one as well that I enjoy. I actually prefer hers better than Alex's.
You know what's crazy is I've had a podcast longer than I've listened to podcasts.
Really?
Nobody knows that. Yeah. Well, now they do.
Yeah.
I was not a podcast guy. I was like, I'll create one just to give information, but I'm an Audible book guy, like through and through. But I've recently, in the past couple of weeks, got into podcasts, and I love them. So yeah. The Real AF, I started listening to that, and it's great.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I don't listen to the CTI episodes. I just like the business content. Yeah. For me, what Andy Frisella is for me is he's a good mental reset. Like he's good for like my mindset. I feel like I'm a better like business owner and person when I listen to him. It's not necessarily like strategic. It's purely for like mindset reasons.
I think you need that because I'm sure you're the same way. You get so wrapped up into like self-improvement nonstop, and you're just like, dude, I just need something that's just this totally not that he's not business related, but like sometimes I feel like that is like what gets my mind off of everything nonstop.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I couldn't listen to like business strategy all day long. I would need something that's a little bit more in the clouds, high, like, pie in the sky kind of stuff.
Yep, 100%. Last question of the day, my friend. What is your favorite non-business thing that you recommend everyone try at least once?
Ooh, what are some examples? I need some help here. What are some examples other people have given?
That could be anything. That could be hike a certain hike. That could be paddle boarding here. That could be kayaking here. I'm using a lot of outdoor because that's what resonates with me. It could be martial arts. It could be a place, pizza place. Whatever it is.
Well, food, I got a lot of food recommendations. If you ever come to Austin, Texas, you should 110% get an ATX marg from ATX Cocina. It's in downtown. Best margarita in Austin, hands down. You said hikes, so one came to mind, so I'll spitball that. My favorite hike to this day is actually in Hudson Valley. It's just like an hour outside of New York City. It's called Breakneck Ridge. That's my favorite hike, hands down. Super pretty, but also very challenging, and I like challenging hikes. Best pizza that I've ever had in New York City as well is John's of Bleecker Street. I would highly recommend that you have that pizza. Those are my 3 non-business recommendations.
I love it. We're supposed to visit like New York and all of that this summer. So I got it all written down here. And where, Chad, can people find you on any social platforms if they have any questions or want to reach out to you?
Yeah, _fit CEO. That's see if I can remember here. TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And then the podcast is the Fit CEO, no underscore, by Chad Molyneux, is the podcast.
Beautiful. So, and I'll have this all linked in the bio, guys. So if you guys want to connect with Chad at all, you guys can go to the bio, click on any of those links. They'll be there for you. Chad, this has been a really fun time for me. I appreciate you hopping on, man.
Me too. This has been great. I love, just quick shout out, really great podcast. I love the conversational style. And bro, you're so freaking calm. Like you're soothing to the ear. So this has been very enjoyable.
It's the mic, I think. It's got to, or the fact that I'm losing my voice today.
Maybe so, but
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it
It's
nonetheless.
been a pleasure, brother.